Bullseyes at the Buckeye Series. Today we're going to be building some arrows. These are Easton Pro Tours X10s. Everybody knows these are the best arrows in archery. I'm going to be building some. I've got all the components, tungsten points, knocks, knock collars, pins, everything. And we're going to start assembling them. So first thing you want to do is cut them, right? So I'm going to be cutting these down to 28 inches, I believe. And first I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is grab a shaft, and this is a tapered shaft, which means that this end is bigger than this end, right? So the diameter goes down as you go towards the front of the shaft. That helps with forgiveness and a couple other things. But and you always want to cut off the skinny side of the shaft. You never want to cut the other end. So we're going to mark the skinny side. I'm just going to lay it on a tape measure here, and I'm going to line up this other end down here on the 1, right? So I'm going to cut an inch versus going all the way to the end. Line that up perfectly. Then come down here to 28 inches. So 28 inches plus that 1 inch, since I'm not perfectly on the end of the tape, which is 29, and that's where I'm going to mark the shaft. Put a little mark right there. This is just a gold Sharpie. And if I'm looking at the mark, that should be right on. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here in my arrow saw, and I'm going to adjust it until the blade lines up perfectly with that mark. Okay, if you look in there, you can see that blade lines up perfectly with the little mark I put on the arrow. So I always like to turn on the exhaust fan up here. You can see it when I'm cutting arrows. I also put on a respirator and safety glasses because I do not like getting carbon dust in my lungs or eyes. I'm going to start cutting. So I've got the camera zoomed in here so you can see exactly what I'm doing with my hands. I'm going to bring those in there, and I'm pressing back away from the camera into the stop. That way I make sure I get a consistent length, and I'm rotating it and slowly making small little slices all the way around the arrow, keeping the blade traveling at a high speed. And I'm just slowly etching that blade all the way around, getting to the aluminum, and then eventually you'll make it all the way through. Spin around a couple times at the end, and then you're through. On to the next arrow. You want to make sure to do every single one the same. Arrows are cut. Here's some of the little pieces, and now we're going to square the arrows. I don't know if it will focus on this very well, but you can see there's little burrs in there because this is an aluminum carbon arrow, which means it's a small carbon shaft wrapped in, small aluminum shaft wrapped in carbon. That's what the X10 series is, and so we're going to have to deburr that aluminum in there and square the carbon. First, we're going to start by squaring. Okay, to square arrows, I use a G5 arrow squaring device, and I use the, I guess that's a diamond sandpaper side right there versus the aluminum cutter. So I'm going to start with the end that I just cut, and I'm going to give it 15 twists and see what it does. The other thing I'm going to use is this scrap piece of plastic. I just put it under my thumb. That way when I'm pressing on the tool, it slides a little bit better. So we'll give it 15 twists. Now, if I'm taking a look at that, it looks pretty good. We're gonna go 10 more, so 25 total. Okay, that looks pretty good. Carbon looks very square. I'm gonna go ahead and do that to all the shafts before we deburr the inside. Okay, that's got all of the point ends square. The knock ends should be great from the factory because we have not cut that end, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it 5 or 10 twists per arrow just to double check everything's great. That's got all of them squared. Now it is time to start gluing in the components. Okay, one last step before we start assembling components. I'm going to take this little chamfering tool here and give it a few light twists. I'm just going to demonstrate on this arrow piece. Probably 10 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And all I'm looking for is just to deburr it and give it just a little bit of a chamfer. I'd say 20 might be about the right number. Just slightly pressing. You don't want to go overboard and get into the carbon, but that right there looks pretty good. Let's do another one. Okay, now we got all of them chamfered, and it's time to glue in some of the pins. So I'm going to use the glue that came with these points. It's supposed to be really good glue from Easton. I'm just going to take a pin, grab it with these little pliers here, heat it up gently. I'm not sure what kind of heat this glue takes yet, so I'm going to go pretty slow here. And I'm going to be pretty gentle with the amount of glue that I use. Yeah, so since this is such a small component, it's hard to get the amount of heat we need correct. We'll keep it going. And it cools down really quick, which also makes it difficult. But okay, it should be enough glue. Doesn't take very much. I'm just gonna heat it up from the back here so I don't burn it. And then it goes in the big end of the shaft. I'm gonna spin it as I press it in. Perfect. I'm gonna press it down on the table here, and before it cools too much, I'm just gonna wipe it off on a paper towel. Now, time to do it with the rest of the arrows. Okay, and with that, all of the pins are glued in, and now I'm going to install a few knocks. That way we can start fletching. Now we're ready to fletch. I got the jig all lined up. I just got a minimal offset there. Coach Mel recommended these 187s flex fletch, so I got some of those, and I got them in white because I figured that the sun wouldn't heat them up as much as a darker color. And then I got some Pine Ridge glue over there, and I should be ready to go. These bases are really small, so they aren't going to take a ton of glue. I'm going to actually sharpen the tip of this glue bottle here, make it a little bit easier. Okay, now we're ready to glue. Just putting a few dots down that fletch. And then I will kind of rub it around on there with the tip of this, get it evenly spread, make sure it's on both sides of the cup. That looks pretty good. I'll stick it on there. I got the original Bitzenberger piece in here versus the upgrade, so I'm gonna have to push with the arrow, make sure it's consistent. Okay, that looks like it laid on there pretty nice. And I'm pushing back this way with this hand. That way everything sticks. Now we do that about 40 more times and I'll have a dozen fletched arrows. Okay, I got them all fletched up. Now I'm gonna glue in points, and then after that, I'll be done. Finished arrows. Okay, here you have it. We got them all glued up. Tungsten point. Pro Tour, that's a 420 spine, by the way. All the way out to the end. This ought to be a killer setup. See you tomorrow.